Access to cancer treatment is important because it increases cancer survivorship and reduces the burden on families and cancer patients. I am Susan Africa Manican, the wife of the late great actor Spanky Manican. As caregiver, I held Spanky's hand throughout the physical, financial, and emotional challenges of the cancer patient journey. Being a cancer patient caregiver is very challenging. But believe me when I say, may pag-asa pa at may magagawa ka pa laban sa cancer. Hope from Within is an advocacy that promotes cancer awareness, better access to new treatment options, and hope for survival for all patients. The Philippine Society of Medical Oncology currently has ongoing efforts to push for better access to more responsive and affordable healthcare services for cancer. Join us in advocating for equitable, affordable, and timely cancer care services. You can sign the petition by visiting the link below. To know more about the advocacy and want to be part of a community that aims to renew hope and optimism for the thousands of cancer patients and survivors, follow Hope from Within's Facebook page at Hope from Within PH or visit hopefromwithin.org.
Access to cancer treatment is important because it increases cancer survivorship and it reduces the burden on families and cancer patients as well. I am Tirso Cruz III, and I am an ambassador of Hope from Within. And by God's grace, I am a lung cancer survivor. The Philippine Society of Medical Oncology currently has ongoing efforts to push for better access to more responsive and affordable health care services for cancer. Join us in advocating for equitable, affordable, and timely care for cancer services. You can sign the petition by visiting the link below. And if you want to know more about the advocacy and want to be part of a community that aims to renew hope and optimism for thousands of cancer patients and survivors, follow Hope from Within's Facebook page at Hope from Within PH or visit their website, hopefromwithin.org.
Do these sound bites sound familiar?
Sorry for the rush, but could you possibly come up with a presentation by the end of the day? Where's the proposal? The meeting's tomorrow already.
When things are going too fast, take a break. Catch up with the hot topics and issues of the day on the Manila Times Coffee Break.
Experience the perks of Coffee Break on the Manila Times Facebook page.
Cheers!
Cheers!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another webisode of the Manila Times Coffee Break. My name is Tessa Mauricio Ariola.
And I'm the fourth Villasaran. Our webisode for today's Coffee Break is entitled Navigating Lung Cancer in the Time of COVID-19.
Joining us today are veteran actress Susan Africa, who served as caregiver to her late husband, seasoned actor and cancer survivor Tirso Cruz III, and lung cancer of the Philippines Oncology Department Section Head, Dr. Gia Ladrera. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning. Morning.
Good morning.
They are the ambassadors from Hope from Within, an advocacy group committed to helping lung cancer patients and their families and caregivers.
Especially at this critical time when the lung cancer community may be among the most vulnerable.
Yes, we have a lot to unpack in today's webisode of Coffee Break. We'll discuss the potential ramifications of delaying cancer screening and treatment. And we'll also emphasize the importance of strengthening communication between both patient and doctor.
We'll also provide information that will help cancer patients and caregivers navigate the treatment journey together with physicians during COVID-19. And we'll communicate with audiences that cancer patients will be given the support they need and deserve during these uncertain times.
Now, let us give a little backgrounder about our topic for today. Cancer has been an ongoing battle for many Filipinos, and a diagnosis has already brought about this sense of anxiety and uncertainty. Now, this pandemic has further increased this, and especially amongst the loved ones and the cancer patients themselves. So, before the onset of COVID-19, people were more prone to the rapid deterioration of their health. So, if they get infected with COVID-19, this actually worsens the situation.
Amid the health crisis, it must be ensured that cancer care will not stop, especially for patients who are most in need of treatments. It has also been confirmed by studies that cancer patients are highly vulnerable to COVID-19 and severe complications. Cancer patients are also more prone to rapid health deterioration if they are infected with COVID-19.
So let's start with the topic of screening and treatment. Dr. Ladera, who is at increased risk of developing a serious form of COVID-19?
Those who are of the extreme ages, those who are very young, and also those who are in the elderly group or more than at least 60 years old are at most risk for having the serious form of the illness. The young ones, it's because they have immature immune system that could not handle yet the infection. On the other side of the spectrum, the elders are also with other coexisting illnesses that makes them also prone to develop the serious form of the illness. The other individuals who are at high risk to get the serious form of the COVID infection are those with chronic illnesses like diabetes mellitus, and those with autoimmune illnesses placed on immunosuppressive treatment and steroids are cancer patients because of the illness making them immunosuppressed. And to top that is the administration of immunosuppressive treatments like chemotherapy, radiotherapy, or combination of that. And other illnesses like those with cardiovascular diseases, hypertension, with lung problems, asthma, and COPD, the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, because of the functional as well as the structural problem of their lungs. And we all know for a fact that the COVID's way of invading into a person's system is through an inhalation of the virus. So it's the lungs that gets the infection first. So if at baseline this is already a structured or a dysfunctional lung, then that makes it more difficult for these individuals.
Thank you very much for that very detailed answer, Dr. And thank you for joining us again. My question is, well, fear of COVID-19 has led many cancer patients to decline screening and critical treatment. What are the risks of delaying treatment during the pandemic, and how are you addressing this behavior, Paul?
So unfortunately, it's really disheartening that because of the pandemic, a lot of patients shuns away from consulting their physician or going to the hospital for admission or consultation because of the fear of the COVID. And the body of cancer experts from the Europe, from America, has already come out with some protocols. So they divided the clinical scenario based on priorities. So there's high, the medium, and the low priority. For screening, it was placed on medium priority, meaning to say that it is not a life-threatening condition at that time yet, but to delay it more than the approximate it between 6 or 8 weeks. So delaying any form of management beyond 8 weeks means that the clinical benefit the patient gets from the management or the treatment of the early stage lung cancer is decreased or diminished. So they do not get the maximum benefit from the screening. So probably from a stage 1, it proceeds to an upstage to stage 2, and therefore it's not merely a surgical resection of the tumor, but on top of that, there is an additional chemotherapy for the patient. That may be the problem with delaying the management of patients with early stage lung cancer, which we usually get if you are screened. So what are we doing about this right now is through education. Since we cannot do it on a face-to-face basis right now, there are reputable websites that do release their or post their insights about lung cancer and screening, coming from the Philippine College of Chest Physicians, the Philippine College of Physicians, and the others like the DOH per se. They also have released some protocols, and this points us to the direction on how we should proceed with our patients, especially those with early stage lung cancer. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention about the Philippine Society of Medical Oncology. They also have their own protocol for the management of patients with lung cancer.
Mhm. Actually, that touches upon the next question, Doctora. I was about to ask you that given hospitals making sure that the management of both screening and treatment of lung cancer, at the same time being able to address the health and security measures against COVID-19, there's a certain amount of balance that must be struck between the two concerns. And because of that, there are certain protocols which you mentioned. Maybe could you maybe cite certain examples, or what are these protocols that at least people might have an idea about currently in place in hospitals regarding
So I can only speak for Lung Center of the Philippines, and fortunately for this interview, because it's one of the earliest hospital dedicated to take care of COVID cases, from moderate to the critically ill, COVID confirmed or probable cases. So what did we do at our Department of Thoracic Oncology? Well, we did not really stop our function as a department serving cancer patients, but as per our administration's advice, likewise, and coming also from suggestions from the Chinese doctor from Wuhan, they came to our center to give us some advice about their experiences during the time of pandemic in China. So they were telling us that all things should be minimized, and all efforts should be, or resources should be pointed towards the care of patients with COVID. So that's what we do, what we did since March. So for cancer patients, we just halved our service from, we're serving about 20 to 25 OPD chemotherapy administration at that time, but we need to have it into 12 or 13 at a time because of the spacing, the distancing between the patients in the treatment room. And of course, there are some infrastructure changes we placed in the unit, like setting up of the ventilation, being aware of the dust or the air exchanges that needs to be addressed to minimize infection. We also did some baseline swab and a pre-chemo swab of patients before they receive their treatment. This is to ensure that we are not administering chemotherapy or immunosuppressive treatment to a patients with COVID infection, because that makes it worse for them. And also for our part, we are regularly swabbed once a month to ensure that also as care providers to our cancer patients, we are also free from the COVID infections. So these are just one of those policies that were placed in the thoracic oncology department during this pandemic era.
Doctora Ledrera, what systems have you put in place as you ramp services back up to prioritize a backlog of patients whose treatments were put on hold due to the pandemic?
Well, to augment our OPD consultations, we have come up with telemedicine. Medyo, this is a favored platform for some of my colleagues as well as some patients, especially at the time of ECQ when there was limited travel passes issued to our patients, yung mga quarantine passes not given to our patients. So it becomes a very important and favorable way of engaging the doctor and the patient. So that is one of the system we had in place at the time of the pandemic era. And well, we don't know if this will continue beyond the pandemic era.
So, Doctora, clearly telemedicine is important right now. And in most hospitals, how would you say the transition has been? How challenging has it been to go from in-person treatment or consultations to a more digital platform?
Well, at the start, a lot were praying that the pandemic will just go away and they will have again the face-to-face consultation. But as we all know for a fact that it did not. And so gradually, unti-unti, the patient and the clinicians have embraced this new way of consulting, the virtual consultation or the telemedicine. But it's not 100% for both the clinician and the patients. They have several opinions about telemedicine. Like some patients would say na they favor the face-to-face because they feel that it's more of a personal touch between the patient and the doctor. But limitation naman nga of a face-to-face will be they need to go out, they can be exposed to the infection, and some of our clinicians are also elders, kanya takot na din sila to be exposed to patients in the clinics. So kailangan talaga before they enter into the clinic, the patient and their families who accompany them, meron pang screening to limit the risk of getting the infection inside the clinic. And so yun yung mga downside and favorable side for telemedicines. But the trend right now, mukhang it's becoming more acceptable to a lot of our patients, Filipino patients, and the clinicians, if they have the ability, the technology. Kasi minsan hindi din possible because some of our patients do not have the Wi-Fi, the connectivity. Elderly, they do not know how to operate and navigate through the telemedicine platform unless another adult comes to help them out. So medyo challenging sa iba nating Filipino patients yung telemedicine.
But all in all, Doctora, it's early days naman po for telemedicine. No? I think all of us should really give it a chance because, you know, I mean, at least nga po there is an option, no? Rather than going out and fearing that you might, you know, contract COVID-19. It's good that there are these options. And knowing our brilliant doctors and our brilliant scientists and everybody, they will come up with more and more innovations as time goes by, Doctora. No, the fourth.
Yes, I hope.
Maybe Doctora has some tips on, especially for those who are not digital natives, who aren't used to screen on their phone while they're watching TV and then while they're streaming something on their laptop. Basically, perhaps for the elderly set or for those who are who don't often have access to modern technological devices, how would you ease them into the platform of telemedicine? What tips can you give them? Bits of advice or even little anecdotes about how things got a little easier for those who aren't.
So siguro for those who have, they do not have the Wi-Fi connectivity, baka no choice talaga, but to really go for a face-to-face consultation. Yung iba naman, they have the connectivity but they don't know how to navigate through the telemedicine platform. So pwede naman Viber na lang or Messenger, because somehow you can still see virtually and inspect your patients. The list will be just a phone call, siguro yung between the patient and the doctor. The purpose of the phone call is probably for the doctor to have a feel on the severity of the symptom of the patient, kasi baka kailangan niya sabihin na this is not an OPD case but you need to go to a hospital or to be admitted. So parang the phone call may be an opportunity for the doctor to assess the actual problem of the patient and somehow give them a pathway on how to proceed with diagnosis or treatment ng patient. Siguro yun na lang ang pinaka-list, is just a phone call if they do not really have the technology, the connectivity to do a virtual consultation with their doctors.
Actually, that's very helpful, Dr. Thank you for giving those points, because given our topic of telemedicine, it's actually something that we perhaps would be good to define a little bit, because you brought up Viber and Messenger, and some people might think, isn't that also telemedicine? You talk to a doctor, there's a platform for messaging instantly. How would you differentiate or specify telemedicine as a term? What are its parameters? How is it different from just doing Viber or Messenger?
The telemedicine is really an engagement of the doctor and the patient. It's a real time, although done virtually. But on top of that, the difference between that and Viber and the Messenger, the platform of telemedicine, there are other services that it can offer, like the doctor can do prescription, PDF prescription. They can send it through the telemedicine. They can also produce certificates coming from the telemedicine, lab requests or radiographic request to the patients. So yun yung, and also meron siyang electronic chart, si telemedicine, that somehow anywhere, wala siya sa clinic si doctor and they have a consultation, then the doctor can browse through yung previous engagement or encounters nila nung patient, and does not really need to go back to the clinic to run through the charts. So meron siyang electronic chart for the patient wherever this doctor may be in. Ma-review niya yun. So probably that is also one advantage of the platform telemedicine.
This is in connection with the hospital's particular website, right, Dr.? Is that an app or a part of their site?
Right now, dito sa Lung Center, we do not have yet the electronic medical charts or records, but hopefully we will be going towards that pathway dito sa Lung Center. But it will be a start with currently parang medyo mapapaaga nga dahil nga sa need for this pandemic yung ating electronic charts. So hopefully ganon na nga in the future. So the doctor, even if they are at their house, if they have the electronic charts stored anywhere doon sa kanilang system, sa computer, pwede silang to go back and not really be physically present in their clinics to review the case or the charts of their patients.
Ms. Tessa, are you a little curious about how the teleconsult would go about, like from start?
How does it, I mean, siguro hindi na you will pass, wala nang secretary si doktora na you will pass through Kasi sabi mo, ako na hubay kasunod. Diretso na may...
One of the feature din pala yun ng telemedicine. Meron siyang parang kinakalendar niya yung
appointment.
Yung appointments.
You don't have to wait anymore. As funny as this may sound, seriously, I think with telemedicine really gaining ground, marami po sa aming mga pasyente, Doktora, we admit na makulit po kami talaga. We have 100 million questions for our doctors paulit-ulit na. I think we have to also do our part because the doctors are also learning to put technology pa po on top of everything they're doing to treat us and take care of us, no? So I guess tayo namang makukulit tulad ko. Listen na lang ng mabuti, 'di ba? Because ang dami nang challenges, ang dami ng hurdles. Let the professionals do their work and do what we can, no? Take the best out of the situation. At least meron pong option ang mga tao para makapagpagamot, Doktora. So if there's anything you'd like to say para sa mga viewers natin who are feeling something pero they're just going through their illnesses at home and not doing anything, Doctora, what message do you have for them?
Well, for the listeners and the viewers, if they have new onset symptoms, like syempre, sa ngayon, it's the COVID symptoms like the cough, the loss of appetite, loss of sense of smell, sore throat or diarrhea, don't let the day pass without seeking a consultation, either virtually or on a face-to-face basis to a healthcare provider. Kasi nga, baka you have the disease, but there are some life-threatening conditions like yun na yung hirap huminga, not eating, and they are bedborne na sila. Those are things that probably hindi na yan virtual consultation. Really need to go to the hospital. So this is just a discernment on the part of our patients. Wag naman nilang papuntahing malala na yung kanilang condition. If it's just a cough pa lang, better be more careful. Consult right away rather than waiting for the cough to eventually be associated with shortness of breath or yun nga, tinatawag na cyanosis, nagbublo na yung mga daliri nila or mahinang-mahina na sila. Before that happens kasi it starts with a small symptom, hindi big symptoms. So with small symptoms, we right away go to a doctor for consultation. Either do it virtually or on a face-to-face.
Doctor, telemedicine has helped a lot in being able to identify or to help screen early on. Would you say that this technology and or other technologies would evolve further? How do you imagine cancer management to develop as time goes by? What's the future?
Siguro, telemedicine in the future for cancer patients. One, yung mga cancer patients who are just for mga survival follow-up, kapareho nung part ni Mr. Tirso Cruz III, he's a survivor, is only on monitoring or surveillance. Doon papasok, big part is telemedicine. But for those who have ongoing treatment and they feel that they have the side effect of the treatment, pwede yung mag-telemedicine sila agad sa kanilang doctor so that intervention can be initiated right away. They don't need to wait for the next appointment visit. That will be most helpful din sa aming treating doctor kasi hindi namin sila nakikita at their worst already, at the worst end of the spectrum ng side effect. So earlier on, we can intervene before it gets worse. And siguro, in the future, baka ma-upload na rin nga yung mga imaging so that we can view it from our homes and decide on how to proceed with the diagnosis or the actual treatment of patients. And hopefully, it will be open to a lot of clinicians in Philippine-wide. Before, I remember siguro 2018 or 2019 in our parang strategic planning, yung telemedicine, ang concept namin noon was that there was a patient in a far-flung area in the Philippines, pero the specialist is baffled by the case, and it's a thoracic problem. They can forward the case, and we can have a virtual consultation between specialists about a case. That's how I felt telemedicine has a role before, but now it's not a specialist to specialist, but it's more from a specialist or a physician and the patient. So medyo mas malawak na yung yung scope ng telemedicine, but it's also an open line. Telemedicine is not only for patient and doctor, but also between specialists, because actually this is an exchange of medical information, and all are in one to gain one purpose, and that is how to make it better for our patients.
Still on the topic of screening and treatment, you might get a bit starstruck here, even if we're talking about a very serious topic, because we have with us Mr. Tirso Cruz III, who's very willingly and very generously sharing with us his experience as a cancer patient before. What were the first signs, Sir Tirso, and symptoms of lung cancer did you experience?
Well, the basic mistake of people is, especially smokers like me, I used to smoke. The first signs, if I would go back, was coughing. And, most smokers would always say, oh, it's just smoker's cough. Although the frequency of the coughing was becoming more frequent, at first I still didn't pay much attention to it, but that was the first symptoms that I got.
How many packs a day would you smoke, Sir Tirso, just to give our viewers an idea?
Easily 1 pack to 1.5 packs a day. Mm-hmm. And I guess I also usually blame, smokers blame everybody else except the cigarette.
Yes, that's true. That's stress.
Used to blame my job.
Mm-hmm.
It's because we keep unholy hours, we stay up late. And when you reach the wee small hours of the morning, you start feeling sleepy. So to keep yourself awake, you take the combination of coffee and nicotine. That's basically the #1 excuse of smokers.
Mm-hmm. Therefore, do you have a question for Sir Tirso?
Actually, yes. I was about to ask what was the importance of getting screened early or even regularly among high-risk individuals, such as smokers. But prior to that, it occurred to me, how do you get the person who is either in denial or is uncertain about having a condition going into getting oneself screened? I think there's a gap there that maybe you can help.
It's one of the hardest things to do. Especially, like I said, I can relate because I used to smoke. Smokers, the very thing they hate is when you ask them to stop smoking. When you tell them, you should stop smoking, you should do this, you should do that. Or especially when you tell them, the sound of your cough is not nice, you should go and see a doctor. They hate that. I used to hate that too myself. But I don't know. Unfortunately, for some people, when they get when they go for a checkup, sometimes it's usually late. Especially with lung cancer, that's why I'm very thankful to my doctor, my oncologist, because I learned a lot from him when I was diagnosed with it. And one thing, not taking up much of the time, The doctor said, one of the biggest muscles that we have in our body is our lungs. And so when a cancer starts, if it's only starting, it almost doesn't give off signs or symptoms. You only start feeling it when it's already stage 3 or stage 4. And that's why with me, I am blessed. I would say I am blessed because it was my son who insisted or who suggested that I get checked up, because before that I missed 2 years of my regular executive checkup. And then my son suggested that me and my wife go and have one. For the first time, I didn't refuse it, because before my rule was, if you don't feel anything, no need to go and have yourself checked up. For the first time, I did not fight about it or make a fuss about it. I just said, okay, we'll go and have our checkup. And that was when the growth in my right lung was discovered.
Was that because you were more open to it because you already starting to feel a little comfortable? Were there changes in your physiology or?
There was no. I mean, if you would relate it to pain, there was no pain yet. There was no pain. It was the coughing only. The frequency of the coughing that was getting more frequent. But like I said, we always blame everything else except the cigarette. And so I said, Mom, maybe I'm starting to smoke too much. I should cut down on it, which is another promise that smokers never are able to complete or to really do. I'll stop already. I'll stop already. And it never happens.
I guess, Ms. Tessa, motivation is one of the key factors on being able to get screened, right?
That was the time when I stopped smoking.
Just, going back to what you were... Oh, okay. Obviously, I'm sure prayers played a big part in that blessing that you had, and I'm sure your son also, was very happy that you finally agreed to the screening. But obviously, family plays such an important role in convincing, probable lung cancer patients of getting screened. Could you tell us a little bit about what your son told you, or perhaps give family members advice on what smokers might be okay to hear and might convince them to actually go to the doctor?
Well, I will go out on a limb and say I wouldn't really care if they don't listen to me or if they think I am wrong, but I would always advise people. I mean, like I would use myself as a living testimony, because usually on the set, because we stay in tents. I mean, males stay in one tent, females in another tent. And when we're taping or when we're shooting, we usually change clothes in front of each other. And of course, when I change my clothes, when I remove my shirt, they see the big scar at my back. And so most of them would ask, especially the smokers, "Hey, what's that?" And then I point to the cigarette. That is the cause of that. Then I tell them the story.
Sila pa
They
yung
say,
nagtanong,
that was your great. The question gave me the opening. And I tell them, like I usually tell them, really, I know how you feel when people tell you to stop smoking, because I used to feel that way. But believe me, it's for your own good that if you feel anything, or even if you don't feel anything, an executive checkup doesn't take up much of your time, but it does you a lot of good. I mean, that's how I found out. I found it out, and I would advise them, really. I mean, take it from me, a former smoker. I hated being told not to smoke until I was diagnosed, and when I was diagnosed was the only time that scared the daylights out of me. And like you said, prayer figures a lot, family figures a lot. We people sometimes, unfortunately, we people pray. We claim we pray. But when you are diagnosed with something like this, man, you really pray. And that was, I've never called on the Lord so deep and so hard when I found out that I was diagnosed with that disease. Ano pa naman, my second son is a pastor. That's why sometimes I'm always guilty of many things, especially with him.
So, Tirsa, it's great that you're sharing that with us, because lung cancer patients who are probably watching us now, you can still be as good and as handsome as Tirso Cruz the third with treatment, no, Sir Tirso, because
Yes.
up until now you're one of the most prolific actors in show business, and truly a gem in showbiz as well. So thank you naman at nawala yung na-treat natin yung lung cancer po ninyo.
Alam nyo, there's truth in what we're talking about, because my doctor said it was the early detection that basically was a lot of good for me, that they were able to detect it. It wasn't really that early because, I was self-diagnosing myself. So, but the doctor said it was a good thing that your son forced you to get a checkup, and we found out in time. And that's what my oncologist told me. The earlier we find out, the bigger the fight we have with the battle to this disease. I mean, the more time that we can work on it. And they say, like most people would tell you, when it's detected early, the percentage of surviving and getting it out of your body, being able to be cleaned and having the bigger chance of surviving. I still have, up to now, I still have my yearly PET scan, which, I'm due in a couple of weeks for my yearly PET scan. When I was diagnosed, after my operation, I used to have it quarterly. And then after a year or two, it became biannual. And then this last year, my doctor advised me, you're okay, so we can have it for maintenance on a yearly basis. But that's his advice. Anytime you feel something weird or anything, you know where I am, or you can call me, and we can check on it right away or whatever.
I think that's really good to hear, especially for those families who have a loved one who is currently undergoing treatment. It's very hopeful for their situation. I've noticed that cancer survivor stories all emphasize the value of what the caregivers give to the person undergoing that journey of recovery. Who were your caregivers, Sir Tirso? What did they support you?
I would claim that I'm very blessed, because my caregivers were my family. My 3 sons before my eldest son passed away about 2 years ago. But when I had this, I was operated on 2014. And when I was operated on, they were my prayer warriors. They were my caregivers. They were always there. I mean, from the time I was operated on, they were in the hospital every day until I got home. They're checking on me until during my recovery period. They would join me. They would come with me when I would have my treatments. I also learned of a new treatment before that my oncologist did on me. It wasn't called chemo. It was called, Dr. Ligdeo will basically know about it. It was called adjuvant treatment. It was more preventive than anything else. And I had a couple of series of that before. And that was also something that basically gave me a lot of confidence also, and gave me the feeling that I'm doing okay, that I'm on my way to being healed, being cured. And of course, like I said, there's nothing like prayer and calling upon the Lord. I mean, of course, you have your doctors and everything, but the great healer or the great doctor, physician is really the Lord Jesus Christ.
Actually, very, very touching naman po yung sharing niya sa amin, Sir Tirso. And obviously, anything that happens to a loved one and their health, it really, really brings family together. Like now, with this pandemic that we're all together at home, diba? We've been reminded of how family is really, really important, diba? More than anything po. But of course, I'm sure it was such a celebration both for your family and show business when you got better after your operation. But especially ngayon po na like people with what do they call it for it in the conditions, that maybe a lung condition or a heart condition, they're usually the ones very worried about contracting COVID-19. Kayo po ba in your home now? Kasi kami ho medyo paranoid po kami. Ang dami naming pang sterilize, ang dami naming mga pang spray, alcohol, ilaw, blue, lahat.
Yes.
Pero kayo po, because you had gone through a difficult time, you and your family, not just you, kasi pati po sila kasama nyo in your journey here. How do you take precautions against COVID-19 today in your home?
In my home, I have a lot of marshals and police. Number one police is my wife. And then my two children, who is always on my case, because sometimes I forget to wear my mask. And sometimes, do you know that I have been incarcerated almost for the past 6 months? Because I'm not allowed to go out. I mean, I can't even get a quarantine pass because of my age. And then, of course, I'm immunocompromised. So my wife and my children are always on my case. On the positive side, I mean, if there's anything I need, they do it for me. They go out, they buy medicines for me, they order in food. But I cannot, I cannot go out. I can't even step out of our garage. I only can step out at our terrace in the mornings to get a bit of sunlight.
Mhm.
Or even just downstairs right in front of the house just to be able to walk around. But I basically, I am very, very thankful that I have family who love me. At least I know I'm being loved because they've got their watchful eyes on me. Kulang na lang nila ako, i-handcuff nila ako. But then again, eto ngayon, like I said, because of work, I am here now in Batangas. But we've had to follow so many protocols. I mean, the set and the production is so strict. I can't believe it.
I'm sure, but I guess it really pays to be careful. And if
Yes.
Sir Tirso can be incarcerated for 6 months, but then may Batangas side trip siya, I'm sure everybody else, all of you, who are immunocompromised, could also do it from your homes.
Yes.
The court,
Yes.
do you have a question for Sir Tirso again?
Well, actually, I just wanted to ask if what was mentioned earlier was a lot of prevention or a lot of cautionary steps taken. How about more than trying to avoid getting infected? How about the things that you've been doing to strengthen your body, your mind, and your spiritual well-being?
I used to play a lot of tennis. Although they say that tennis is a low risk chance of you getting the COVID-19 because it's quite a distance from you and the guy you play with. But still, like I said, I am not allowed to go out of our house. So the next best thing that we've come up with is Zumba.
Yeah.
I mean, when we're home, my wife, me, my children, we have this, of course, the technology that is most abused right now, Zoom. My daughter usually calls her friends, daughters of a very good friend and actor director Edgar Mortiz. They call him, then we get together on Zoom, and then we'd have Zumba almost every day. We spend an hour or so doing Zumba. At least we get to sweat, we get to dance, we have fun, and in between we get to chat. So somehow it basically takes away the the boredom, because after a while, when you're home, at first there are so many things to do, but as the months wear on, you run out of things to do, and your playroom is only your bedroom, your family room, the garage, and then back to your bedroom, and then watch a lot of TV. But basically the best form of exercise that we've had for the past few months is doing Zumba.
So moving from one star to another, we'd like to thank Sir Tirso again for answering our many questions very openly. But now we come to Ms. Susan Africa and the topic and the role of the caregivers, the role of caregivers in lung cancer patients. Hello, good morning, Ms. Africa. Ms. Susan.
Good morning. Hello.
It's lovely to see you, and we are starstruck as well, but we won't be asking showbiz questions today. We'll be talking about, of course, an experience that you've had, and we are very grateful that you're very willing to share it with us. Like you said earlier, if you could tell us about months and difficulty that you have had to go through in choosing to become your husband's caregiver when he had lung cancer.
Yes, as Spanky Manikan, my husband's carer or caregiver, there were many challenges. There was the physical challenge, the emotional challenge, the financial challenge. But I would say that the most difficult of all was the emotional challenge, because you had to stay strong in front of your patient. When we found out that Spanky had lung cancer, it was accidental. He was taping for Provinciano, and he transferred to GMA to do another series. And one time when he came home from taping, his face was all puffed up. And since Spanky was diabetic, we were thinking na, you should get a blood exam, baka kidneys mo na yan. So the blood exam results came back okay. So sabi ko, let's go to your primary doctor para sigurado tayo. And then the doctor just touched this part of his neck. And then he said right away, mag-CT scan ka na. And then, I remember that day, I was taping for a series with ABS, and then the doctor called me during taping, and he said, Susan, you have to come here right away. So I abandoned the taping, I ran to the doctor's clinic, and then he told me, Spanky has superior vena cava syndrome. That was all he said. No mention of cancer, no mention of the C word. So, wow, what is this? So, syempre, nasa taping ka, nakakabahan ka na, hindi mo na alam ng gagawin. I Googled superior vena cava syndrome. It means that there was a big tumor in his right lung that was compressing his veins and arteries, kaya namamaga yung mukha niya. So, immediately, the next day, we started treatment, we went through radiotherapy, and then immediately oncology. Grabe ang emotional stress mo sa caregiver. Pero kailangan kasi talaga, if you're the carer or the caregiver, you should be strong. Yun ang mahirap. You have to pretend that everything is all right, even if everything was going wrong. For me, yun ang pinakamahirap. And of course, there was also the financial challenge. Taking care of Spanky for the many months that he was around. Sabi ko, okay, I'm committed. I love my husband. I'm going to take care of him. I'm going to hold his hand through this whole journey. So, the financial challenge, syempre, kasi hindi na ako pwede tumanggap ng work. Tinanggihan ko lahat ng mga teleserye. I stopped taping. And then, when the funds were running out, we were so lucky to have so many friends and loved ones there to support us. In fact, even Pip and his wife Lynn was one of those who helped us. His friends came up with the idea of putting up a fundraising called Sunday for Spanky. And then we were able to raise funds. And then our friend from theater, Sinandi Joseph, he posted in Facebook that Spanky needed financial support. So there, all the love and all the support from friends from around the world came, and grabe, we were able to hurdle all these challenges. And of course, I thank my friends and my family, but most of all, I thank our Lord Jesus Christ for helping us through this.
Imagine, Ms. Susan, you were telling us about so many different kinds of challenges that you've had to come across during your husband's illness. But imagine now that there is COVID-19, and if there is a member of the family that has lung cancer, what do you think they are feeling now? And if you can talk to them, what would you like to tell them?
I would think that right now they are very, very anxious. They have to be extra super duper careful, and the challenges that I faced before will be 10 times more, especially during these COVID times. So it's really very difficult, and there.
I guess you said number one, prayers are really very powerful, as Sir Tirso also said. But what other things do you think might be good for them to hear in overcoming these difficulties or these worries? Siguro, like you said, accept friends helps, Miss Susan. Parang
Yes.
don't be ashamed to accept help.
Yes, that's true. Be humble, be grateful for the people around you who love and care for you and show you that they love you.
Yes. The fourth, would you like
Yes.
to ask Miss Susan your questions?
Actually, Ms. Tessa, you were talking about aside from prayer, which is of course a very powerful help in being able to go through the journey. You asked if what were the other possible things that help give you that strength that Ms. Susan mentioned. Ms. Susan, I think perhaps if we could ask you how you were able to maintain or open up the channels of communication between you and your friends, your family members, because it's clear that communication between caregivers, family members, and physicians is a key element in being able to hurdle and get
Yes.
the long, difficult journey.
Yes, we were very open about Spanky's case because at first we wanted to keep it a secret because we knew that people would worry about us. But when things became a little bit more difficult for us, first we went to our families and then we went to our close friends, and then they asked our permission if they could share our situation. It's also very important to communicate well with your doctor because the doctors can only be able to provide you the best treatment possible and the options available. Like Spanky was able to undergo a clinical trial. There is a new form of fighting cancer, which is called immunotherapy. And fortunately, Spanky passed that clinical trial and he was able to be given 2 free doses of immunotherapy.
What are the kinds of questions that would be good to have ready to be able to ask the doctor, especially regarding immunotherapy or any other treatments that would be available that are new?
Right now, during our times, I think it is most important. One primary question in my mind is, if I'm a carer for a cancer patient during these COVID times, the first thing I would ask my doctor is, what should I do if my patient starts exhibiting COVID symptoms? Should he have a swab test? The protocols going to the hospital, because of course in these times, the patient and even the caregiver would hesitate to go to the hospital. And I would ask, what precautionary measures does the hospital have to be able to accommodate my patient?
So I imagine at the very start, you didn't know where to begin. Was there someone who helped you, who gave suggestions? Was it because of your searches that you came across your resources for help?
Aside from the doctor, there were my kids. We have 3 kids, Eli, Nick, Amigo. They helped me go through that very challenging part of my life. Also research. I had to do a lot of research on what to do, what is immunotherapy, what would be good for my patient, and that kind of thing.
I guess this leads us to hope from within, Ms. Tessa, right?
Yes. I was just about to say that, obviously from the experiences that Tirso Cruz III and Miss Susan Africa have shared with us, that they're very lucky to have support systems, their families around them, their friends around them. But there are some people actually, unfortunately, they really think, who do I turn to? And apparently there is a group out there that is willing to help caregivers, families with patients suffering lung cancer, and it's called Hope from Within. It promotes cancer awareness and better access to treatment options and hope for survival for patients. Ms. Susan, this is so important for our viewers. Could you tell us more about Hope from Within?
Hope from Within aims to provide cancer patients a platform to share their stories with a stronger voice and, more importantly, a stronger fight to overcome the disease. It's a community where lung cancer patients, survivors, caregivers, advocates, and healthcare professionals can share their experiences, pain points, and insights to help one another in their fight against cancer. And by sharing our personal experiences, we hope to be able to inspire and give hope to both patients and carers alike. And as what Spanky always said, life is so beautiful, life is worth fighting for. And with hope from within, we had somebody to fight for with now.
Yeah, that's beautiful to hear, Miss Susan, and we salute you for your strength. I'm sure that your husband has overflowing gratitude for the love and the care that you gave him, especially during those very difficult times in his life. The fourth, I think we've kind of reached the end of our interesting discussion today. But
Actually, I
like
really would
yes.
hate to break it to everyone that that's all the time we have.
Yeah, and hindi pa natin sila na-offer ng coffee. Titatapos na natin to. Mahirap po mag-offer ng coffee pag may COVID. So I hope kanya-kanyang coffee na lang po tayo. But I'd like to thank, of course, I'd like to begin with, again, Ms. Susan Africa, Sir Tirso Cruz III, and Dr. Gia Ladrera for taking time out to talk about your experiences and, of course, the cancer advocacy group, Hope from Within. The fourth?
Yes, and perhaps we could lead people to their social media resources for people to be able to get in touch with the advocacy. Please do log into their Facebook page, facebook.com/hopefromwithin.ph, or visit their webpage, hopefromwithin.org. Or you can also join the Facebook group, Hope for Lung Cancer. I do hope we could all have more coffee and conversations again soon.
Yes, we do hope that the next time we come together, we can actually offer you coffee in the Manila Times mug and enjoy our time together. Again, thank you so much for sharing, very private stories about your family and be able to help others who are going through the same thing. Please keep safe, Sir Tirso, Miss Susan, and Dr. Ladrera. Fourth, parang magkakape na ako. I need a top up and I'm gonna make it super creamy and sweet. Kaya thank you for staying with us.
Thank you to all our viewers also for sticking with us until the coffee break ending.
Yes. Ako po si Tessa Mauricio Ariola.
And I'm the fourth Villasaran. Thank you for joining us with the Manila Times Coffee
Break.
Access to cancer treatment is important because it increases cancer survivorship and reduces the burden on families and cancer patients. I am Susan Africa Manican, the wife of the late great actor Spanky Manican. As caregiver, I held Spanky's hand throughout the physical, financial, and emotional challenges of the cancer patient journey. Being a cancer patient caregiver is very challenging, but believe me when I say, may pag-asa pa at may magagawa ka pa laban sa cancer. Hope from Within is an advocacy that promotes cancer awareness, better access to new treatment options, and hope for survival for all patients. The Philippine Society of Medical Oncology currently has ongoing efforts to push for better access to more responsive and affordable healthcare services for cancer. Join us in advocating for equitable, affordable, and timely cancer care services. You can sign the petition by visiting the link below. To know more about the advocacy and want to be part of a community that aims to renew hope and optimism for the thousands of cancer patients and survivors, follow Hope from Within's Facebook page at Hope from Within PH or visit hopefromwithin.org.
Access to cancer treatment is important because it increases cancer survivorship and it reduces the burden on families and cancer patients as well. I am Tirso Cruz III, and I am an ambassador of Hope from Within. And by God's grace, I am a lung cancer survivor. The Philippine Society of Medical Oncology currently has ongoing efforts to push for better access to more responsive and affordable health care services for cancer. Join us in advocating for equitable, affordable, and timely care for cancer services. You can sign the petition by visiting the link below. And if you want to know more about the advocacy and want to be part of a community that aims to renew hope and optimism for thousands of cancer patients and survivors, follow Hope From Within's Facebook page at Hope From Within PH or visit their website, hopefromwithin.org.